I want to thank Orchid Tierney for this wonderful opportunity and the whole project that she's undertaking. I'm going to read the first section from a three from a new book called Threnodies, just out from Moriah Books, thanks to Bill Allegrezza. The series is entitled Timocracy. One disclaimer, any resemblances between the main character in the series and any current U.S. president are entirely intentional. Timocracy. Precisely when the philosophers neglect music and physical exercise and begin to gather wealth. Blonde little Nubber asked, "Can I be in two places at the same time?" They foresaw his success, that of a pastry cook arguing against physicians before a jury of children. "Of course," his parents said. "And do you know you have a thigh made of gold?" His parents thought him wise beyond his years. "Of course," he said, "I throw away my swine and other animals, my clothes and bed and desk, my friends, my relatives, before I grab and toss a single pearl." Above his head, they locked eyes and beamed. Locked in a white world, with his white heart, a white, dry wind blowing through it. He found that certain music irritated him, no end. Whenever assaulted, Mahler, Elgar, Bach, he felt as if someone were pouring sand over his head. Though he rather liked sitting on sand, the whiter the better. About his mother, nobody knows very much. Seems she told him once that the sun is an inverted bowl with the width of a human foot. She gave him a poem book that he opened and placed on a railway track. For the photograph, she must have coached him on the pout and on the deadness in his little boy's eyes. Call her Agave, cradling the prince's severed head, then reassembling all his body parts to send him out to rule the world. Suddenly, he had it, and didn't know he'd wanted it. His wife wept and wept. In that other tale, the seawater's clear at first. And don't forget that when the fisherman releases the flounder, it leaves behind a long smear of blood. This one's spouse feared darknesses, and that he demand those with everything else. Clear to sickly green, dark blue, gray, and dense darker gray, smelling foul, black, thick, and boiling, waves high as towers, until the fisherman's wife asks to be God, and they are back in their filthy shack again. Remember, too, at first the freed flounder had promised nothing. They keep putting sentences into his mouth and color-coding his office walls with everything he's won. Early, he walks high, cold, lonely halls. He shuffles freely, he thinks, but he's ankle-fettered to a distant stake. If the marble steps in the palace, the browning fronds, the tall window curtains are sentient, how can we say he isn't? Yet we say it. He isn't. And the fire within him isn't elemental, isn't alive. They hand him a stoppered test tube, which he warily uncorks. From what appeared clear and empty rises a floating liquid scroll. He frowns at the words on it, but they quickly change to chips, green, gold, blue, red, of flashing, shifting lights. He gazes, grins. If all things turn to smoke, the nostrils would distinguish them. He loves this new science, so he holds another tube over a flame and waits for the next emergence, whose spooling out will tell him what to say. In Hades, souls smell. He really likes certain numbers, especially 1 and all its multiples. People ask him to count by 2s, he won't. By 3s, he won't. By 5s, nope. It's silly and goes around willy-nilly and asks a daisy what to do. What sensitive soul would not be entranced by imaginary numbers? Their beauty is a beauty detached from phenomena, the way a flying airplane is detached from the ground. But his wisdom is not one thing that knows the thought by which all things are steered through all things. Letter makes a sidewalk curb, word an alleyway, phrase a block-long street, clause a bridge, a sentence a 6-lane avenue down this city of speech. His credo, next thought, best words. His speech, crooked, duck-like, dull. He wants to hide his feebleness, hence his cane. And though immaterial, it's become weapon, mutilating those who care to study him too closely, those whose scattered remains, one sinew here, another's bone there, gather themselves up to make a whole witness, the one only who will escape and testify. Blood has a lexicon, spilled blood, its own. Trembling puddle. He's on that path, though he's made his cane invisible. Such terrain as is ours. At last, we'd done it, arrived at city's end, blackened facade rising, curving above us. Untenable, unaidable, unsixable, unforable, untwoable, unwantable. So we turned back, saying we hadn't wanted to leave after all, to neglect music, exercise, and begin to gather wealth. Unseen cane, puddle trembling under swamp. A new sphinx claws its way over walls of the city of speech. This time the beast is male. Each day sickness spreads. Ramparts would weep if they understood. To unriddle the riddling double beast singing, whose music is not music at all. Dance that knows no music. This time it gives us the answer first, catastrophe. And to extirpate the curse, we must say, in exact words, the riddle. But our sentences slur. The word of truth is singular in nature, and no flying dream. Mendacity, that cloak of fear, dangles about him. Which is he, Euripidean predator or prey? Both, Dionysus and Pentheus. Heartless one, I am a god, I am blasphemed by you, my name dishonored, radiant with his own terror. And arrogant, beardless king, trying to enslave divinity, then dismembered by his mother, his aunts. The gods have many shapes, bring many things to accomplishment, find their ways for what no man expected. In any case, we become a nation of mourning mothers, each Agave's vision coming clear, to recognize that what she holds in her hand is the severed head of her son. The Christians know all the things I'm doing for them, right? This mirrors borders, a stampede of ruby stallions. This one's an onyx stream of ocean. This one's a ring of fornicating swans. Before such mirrors they sit, then rise and go up to tell him. So they'll inherit jeweled corridors, great halls and offices, the earth with all its airy currents. If he'd read Dante, Zukofsky, seen and studied El Greco, Rothko, heard, felt, understood Schubert's Lieder, Britten, Bird, Train, would he be broader, deeper than tissue? Would we all be living in lesser darkness? Then again, Mary Lamb offed her mum with a kitchen knife. Caravaggio bled a man out with a stab to the groin. Gesualdo slashed his wife's neck, then mutilated her and her lover's genitals. Now, this one watches television with a vengeance and a need the size of Saturn. To neglect music and begin to gather wealth. Late 16th century, he shows his works in score to everyone to induce them to marvel at his art. 2018, tiny birds deliver his messages. Early 17th century, it is obvious that his art is infinite, but it is full of attitudes and moves in an extraordinary way. 2018, he wears you down. Yes, he does. Early 17th century, his is the highest expression of pain in music. Early 17th century, he was afflicted by a vast horde of demons that gave him no peace, unless 10 or 12 young men whom he kept specially for the purpose were to beat him violently 3 times a day, during which operation he was wont to smile joyfully. 2018, he's possessed by emptiness, which no amount of pummeling can displace. Early 17th century, in Moro Lasso, the tenor voice's movement ups the tension of the song, which suffers extraordinary stress, as though tied to some instrument of torture worked by means of a slowly turning crank. 2018, he marvels, I can invite anyone for dinner, and they will come. In this lake, lies a corridor, watery, long container, narrow, floating stage, scene, a hallway. He stands at the far end. As he walks toward us, doors on each side open. From every doorway, an arm thrusts forth with clipboard and document attached. Without even glancing, he signs sheet after sheet until blurry close, fade, cut. He'll never make a dive back to that reenactment, that reprise of how he brought himself to now, when liquid darkness overwhelms only his sight. When it's just about money, God leaves the room. Shuffling, he stooped like Mammon in paradise. His prattles butterscotch drizzled over turds. He even reprises that pusillanimous theme, building, one pandemonium after another. For the walled garden, he hired decorative hermits, then forgot he'd done so, then forgot them, then forgot the garden. They've sheltered in brambles, kept accounts with sticks on leaves, and made plans to show him the divided line, all that is miraculous, and he believes in just himself. With stings in their fingers and hell in their toes, they shall come at him with thorns from a rose.